My family laughed when I failed. They swore I'd never succeed again. I risked everything chasing my dream. Betrayal cut deep, but I fought back. I built success from ashes of pain. Now they work for me. Shocking. I'll never forget the day my father looked me straight in the eye and said, "You'll never make it on your own. You're too soft, too naive. You'll fail." The words cut deeper than any insult a stranger could throw. This was my father, the man who was supposed to believe in me. Instead, he laughed as if my dream was some kind of joke. My mother stood beside him, shaking her head. Even my older brother joined in. "You? Start a business?" he snorted. "You can barely keep a job for 6 months." That night, I sat alone in my room, fists clenched, rage burning through me. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was crazy for even thinking about quitting my safe, stable job. But deep down, something told me I had to try. I had always been obsessed with creating something of my own, watching other people build companies, watching small ideas grow into empires. It lit a fire in me. But in my family's eyes, that fire was nothing more than childish fantasy. The worst part? They didn't just doubt me. They wanted me to fail. My father actually said, "When you come crawling back broke, don't expect us to help you." I couldn't sleep that night. I kept hearing their voices, their laughter. And then I made a decision that changed everything. I would prove them wrong, no matter what it cost me. The next morning, I walked into my office job, a dull gray place where dreams went to die, and handed in my resignation letter. My boss smirked. "Another one chasing the startup fantasy," he said. "You'll be back in a year." The humiliation stung, but I walked out with my head high. I had no investors, no safety net, just my savings, a laptop, and a stubborn belief that I was worth more than the limits my family had put on me. I started small. Freelance projects, consulting, anything that would bring in money while I worked on my idea. A business that would connect small local suppliers directly with restaurants, cutting out the greedy middlemen. At first, it was chaos. Suppliers ignored me. Restaurants brushed me off. Every day felt like running into a brick wall. But I refused to stop. I'd spend nights cold calling potential clients, pitching my vision. I slept 4 hours a night, surviving on instant noodles and coffee. My friends stopped inviting me out. They said I was obsessed, ruining my life for a fantasy. And my family? They mocked me every chance they got. My brother would send me texts like, "So, how's that little lemonade stand of yours?" Or my mother, "You should just find a nice job before you waste your whole life." It broke me inside, but every time I wanted to give up, I remembered their laughter. That was my fuel. You eat. Finally, after months of rejection, I landed my first big client, a small restaurant owner named Marco. "I'll give you a shot," he said, leaning back in his chair. "But if you screw this up, you'll never work with anyone in this city again." I poured everything into that contract. Days blurred into nights. But when Marco called me a week later and said, "You saved me thousands already. I'm telling my friends about you," I knew I had something real. One restaurant turned into 3. 3 turned into 10. Soon I was signing contracts faster than I could keep up. My savings were gone, but money finally started flowing back in. I hired my first assistant, then another, then a small team. We worked out of a cramped office with peeling paint and broken chairs, but it felt like the beginning of something powerful. For the first time in my life, I felt unstoppable. Then came the night. Everything almost fell apart. It was late. My phone buzzed with a notification, an email from one of my biggest suppliers. The subject line, contract termination notice. I froze. I opened the email. They claimed I had missed payments, that my business was unreliable, that they'd be pulling out immediately. My chest tightened. Missing payments? That was impossible. I checked the records myself. Everything was in order. Someone was sabotaging me. I called the supplier in a panic, trying to explain, but the manager on the other end cut me off. Look, your own family told us you can't be trusted. Why should we risk our business with you? My blood ran cold. My own family? The betrayal hit harder than a fist to the gut. Who had called them? My father? My brother? Why would they try to destroy the one thing I had built? I stormed into my parents' house the next day, shaking with rage. You went behind my back, I shouted. You told people not to trust me. Why? My father didn't even flinch. He sipped his coffee and said, "We're saving you from yourself. You're heading for disaster. Better to shut it down now before you lose more money." I stared at him, stunned. My mother refused to meet my eyes. My brother smirked like it was a joke. That was the moment I realized they didn't just want me to fail. They wanted to destroy me. But the more they pushed, the harder I fought. I worked day and night to repair the damage. I visited every supplier personally, showing them receipts, proving I wasn't a fraud. Some believed me, others didn't. The losses hurt, but I managed to hold on. Business grew slower, but it grew. And slowly, whispers started to spread about the stubborn young entrepreneur who refused to die, no matter how hard people tried to bury him. 2 years later, my company had expanded into multiple cities. Revenue hit 7 figures. We weren't just surviving, we were dominating. And that's when my family came knocking. It was a Sunday afternoon when my brother called me. His voice, once full of mockery, now carried a different tone, desperation. "Listen," he said, I need a job. Things haven't been good for me lately. Could you, maybe, take me on?" I almost laughed. The same brother who told me I'd fail. The same man who mocked me when I had nothing, now begging for a place in my company. I told him I'd think about it. But the real shock came a week later. My parents showed up at my office. My father, the man who said I'd never make it, sat across from me with his hat in his hands. "We've fallen on hard times," he admitted. "If there's any way we could work for you." I leaned back in my chair, heart pounding. The irony was almost too much to handle. The people who had laughed at me, betrayed me, tried to destroy me, now asking me for help. And in that moment, I realized the power had shifted completely. I looked at them, my parents, my brother, and thought, this is my chance to make them feel every ounce of the pain they caused me. But what I said next would shock them all. I sat there in silence, staring at my parents and my brother. They looked so small now, not intimidating, not mocking, just desperate. For a moment, I wanted to laugh in their faces, to tell them no, to remind them of every cruel word every time they tried to sabotage me. But then another thought crept in. What better revenge than making them work for me? I leaned forward. "You want jobs in my company?" I asked slowly. "You'll have to earn them. And let me be clear, you'll work harder than anyone else here. If you can't handle it, you're out." My father's jaw tightened, but he nodded. My mother whispered, "Thank you." My brother tried to smile, but it looked more like a grimace. That was the day everything flipped. I put them at the very bottom. My brother started as a delivery coordinator, long hours, constant pressure, no special treatment. My father, who once bragged about being too smart for grunt work, was placed in logistics. My mother handled basic admin tasks. I made sure the rest of my team knew no one was to treat them differently. They weren't family, they were employees. At first it was sweet, watching my father sweat carrying boxes, seeing my brother scramble. When clients yelled at him, it felt like poetic justice. I told myself this was the lesson they deserved. But soon, something strange started to happen. One night, I stayed late at the office, and I overheard my mother on the phone. "No, I can't go out tonight," she said. "I have reports to finish for him." "Yes, him, my son. He's my boss now." Her voice cracked. For the first time, I heard not mockery, but pride. I froze. Pride? She had spent years tearing me down. And now, was she proud? A week later, my brother came into my office, sweat dripping down his face. He dropped a folder on my desk. "Look," he said, "I found a way to cut delivery costs by 12%. If we implement this, we'll save thousands." I raised an eyebrow. "And why are you helping me?" He hesitated. "Because I want to make this work. For once." I didn't trust him, not fully, but I couldn't deny the results. His plan worked. Even my father, stubborn as ever, began surprising me. He stopped questioning orders and started solving problems on his own. Suppliers who once ignored me now praised our logistics. It was like watching my family transform before my eyes. Still, the bitterness inside me didn't just disappear. I remembered every insult, every laugh. Some nights, I'd lie awake thinking, do they really mean it? Or are they just pretending because they need me? The test came sooner than I expected. One of my biggest competitors, a ruthless businessman named Carter, tried to lure away my team. He offered higher pay, better perks. 3 of my managers quit overnight. I panicked. Losing more would cripple us. The next morning, I gathered everyone in the office. My voice shook as I said, "If anyone wants to leave, I won't stop you. But know this, Carter doesn't care about you. To him, you're just numbers. To me, you're family." As the words left my mouth, I realized the irony. Family. The same people who once betrayed me were standing right there. After the meeting, I braced myself. Surely my father or brother would jump ship, maybe even encourage others to go. But instead, my brother stepped forward. "If Carter calls me," he said, "I'll tell him where he can shove his offer. I'm staying." My father added, "Same here. We're not going anywhere." It was the first time in my life I believed them. From that moment, something shifted. My company grew faster than ever. My brother became one of my most reliable managers. My father earned respect from the logistics team. My mother, once unsure of spreadsheets, became the heart of administration. And me? I felt conflicted. Part of me still craved revenge, still wanted them to feel the pain they gave me. But another part whispered, maybe this is the revenge, not their suffering, but their loyalty. Then came the day I'll never forget. I was invited to speak at a business conference. Thousands of people, cameras everywhere. As I stepped onto the stage, I saw my family sitting in the front row. The same people who once laughed at me now clapped with everyone else. I told my story about the doubt, the betrayal, the struggle. The audience gasped, cheered, even cried. When I finished, they gave me a standing ovation. I looked down at my family. My mother was crying. My father stood stiff, trying to hide his emotions. My brother's eyes met mine, and for the first time there was no mockery, only respect. Afterward, my father pulled me aside. "I was wrong," he said quietly. "I thought I was protecting you, but I was just afraid you'd succeed without me, and you did." It wasn't a full apology, but it was the closest I'd ever get. Years later, my company became a national brand. People I used to admire now looked up to me. Investors begged to work with us. I sat in meetings with CEOs who once ignored my calls. And the people working beside me? My parents, my brother, the same family that had once been my biggest enemy. Now they worked under me, answering to the son they once mocked. Sometimes I still feel the sting of those early years. The laughter, the betrayal. I don't think it will ever fully leave me. But then I walk into the office and see them working, not out of pity, not out of desperation, but because they finally believe in me, and I realize something. Revenge isn't about destroying people. It's about proving them wrong so completely that they have no choice but to respect you. And in that sense, I won.